Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Pro Trade Room Plus and the U.S. jobs report. Canada also has their jobs report this morning. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director at 10 Minute Trades. Good morning, everyone. Please remember, all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so trade carefully, please. Okay. I want to say hello to everybody who's watching us on YouTube. Thanks for watching. And I put a link in there. Okay, so let's look at the DMM. This is the news that we're expecting this morning. Don't forget, margins are up. So you have to be careful with the amount of contracts that you trade or the instruments that you trade, depending on the amount of money you have in a cash account. Brokers raise the margins on this report. And with Ninja Trader, if you log into your platform and go to the margin page about 10 minutes before the event, the margins will be live in real time. But they don't raise them usually until about 10 minutes before the event, before the news is released. It's a pretty wacky way to do business, but that's how they do it. All right. Yesterday afternoon, what a crazy, wacky attempt to trade earnings when, thanks to the help of some of the members that woke me up, the markets were trading in chunks. We've seen that before. The markets weren't moving in ticks, the NQ in particular. It was moving in chunks. It was something crazy. Anyway, it seems to be a little bit calmer this morning. This is the news that we're going to be watching. I'm going to keep it open off to the side. And I'm not very interested in Canada's jobs report when the US jobs report is trading. Um, if you want to trade the Canada jobs report, I'd use a 10 bracket and a 20 stop. 10 bracket and a 20 stop, at least a 20 stop. Let's take a look at the DMM. Years ago, we used to trade Canada. It was a major report that we used to trade. A lot of the Canada reports just have not been very effective as of late. Let me just lower my audio. Okay, so our DMM. You could see that gold has had good trading. You get big moves in gold, you get big volatility, big stop, 35 tick stop. You're risking, close to $800 for 2 contracts of trading. Okay. Gold is extremely whippy on this report. The margins are raised on this report probably for an honestly good reason. And it's because there's a tremendous amount of volatility and risk to trade this event. Okay. That's the truth. Significant volatility, significant risk. Margins are not up because the brokers uh, are having a party. They're doing it for a real reason. We don't always agree with what they do, but we have to play by their rules. So the margins are up. It means be extra careful anyway. Be extra careful. They are not up on bonds, Roz, if I remember asking them. I don't believe they raised them on bonds. But if you want to be 100% sure, check 10 minutes before, 7 minutes before. I'll show everybody how to check. So I'm going to be using our bond setup. All right. I'll be using our bond setup. Gold's a little bit too crazy, even for me these days. In the old days, I used to trade gold all the time. All the time. Look at the size of the moves you can have: 129 ticks, 154 ticks. That's a lot of ticks. Bonds, a little bit more gentle. So we have a breakout on bonds. It's a breakout trade. And we're going to activate at 829.58. And we've got a bracket. The bracket can be 6 or 7. It's up to you. I think 6 or 7 is fine. And then targets, you should choose your own targets between 6 and 20. Targets between 6 and 20. The stop is 12. All right. Targets between 6 and 20. And I would definitely use the target 1 stop move to move my stop break even minus 2 or 3 ticks. I would use the target 1 stop move, definitely, because this can be a whippy report also. And then don't forget to turn off your account warnings if you're trading with your real account. Don't forget to label your trade, okay? We always label our trades. And then I'm going to save my template just because. NFP, bonds, today's date. And we're going to check our bracket width. Yesterday, remember, we couldn't even put brackets on the chart during the Broadcom earnings, during those Broadcom earnings. We couldn't put our brackets on the charts without getting filled part of the time. That's when you know the markets are volatile. Now, today, it's a little nerve-wracking because we're right above the high, right below the low. You know, if it's not a very good move, we could get a pop to the higher low and it could ruin the trade. I think there's so much attention on this jobs report. I think we can expect a pretty good move, but you know as well as I know that the significance of the move is very much tied into the news offset, right? It's very much tied into the news offset. And the news offset means what's the news result compared to what they're expecting, okay? That's the news offset. So once you check your bracket width, you can go back and set your time, reset your time, double check your settings, a bracket of 7, stop of 12. Target 1 stop move if you use it. Apply and OK. And then, of course, your charts should go on to live if you're trading live. Now, any quick questions? We'll look at a couple of videos. The news they're expecting, the big news is non-farm payrolls. They're expecting 198,000. That's a pretty decent number, you know, pretty decent number. My gut feeling is this report's going to surprise to the upside. That's what I think. It's going to surprise to the upside. There's going to be more jobs. The job market that's just my guess. I'm not trading based on that. Canada, their number is 21,000. So we will keep our news open. I'm going to watch gold. Okay. I think what I'll do is I'm going to watch gold on the right. And then I'm going to set up a micro gold. Whoops. Or, you could also set up for a secondary trade. You could use MES if you wanted to. See if you get any kind of change in direction out of the MES or continuation trade based on the news that's possible. Don't forget, gold opens at 820. Everyone, do not forget, gold opens at 820. All right, so we will probably see some volatility in the gold market at 820. Bonds also open at 820. All right, so this was last month, NFP. So pretty solid move on bonds. Fair amount of slippage, not terrible, but overall a pretty solid move to the downside. Gold had quite the move also, very large move. And then, we check a lot of instruments. On this report, many, 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 many instruments move significantly. The euro moves, the yen moves, the British pound moves, the NQ will move. Frank, I don't have a setting on the MES. I have not tested that instrument at all. I don't have good advice on the MES. That's the sad truth. Chantal, I don't know if you do or not. We have not looked, at one time we had an NQ setup and we had like an 80 tick bracket. There could be so much volatility. I just have not tested the MES in so long. I don't want to really give you a bad setup. That's the truth. I was considering looking at it for after the news. I tend to like gold a little better for after the news. And if I were interested in setting up something for after the news, I would just set up a reversal using strategies. JOBB, choose the software, of course, and then the setup is a reversal. And you just have positions, one or two positions usually, profit. It could be a pretty big move on gold. So I'd probably use targets of like 15 and 30 or 14 and 29, for instance, the stop, 29 ticks. If there's a change in direction, and I would make sure I label it REV, REV. And I would do that in our Top Step account. All right, so you can check on your accounts where you're doing everything. And there's my buttons. On my bonds, checking the bonds once more. I'm going to see if I can find, before I check the bonds, let me do something for Frank and see if I can find an old DMM. Let's see. Not sure I can. Let me do something. Just curious. If we go back in time, if I can find an old ES setup. I'm not sure that I have one. So I'm only going to look for a minute. Because in the old days, we used to trade. We had the 6E, we traded the euro for a while. And this is very old because I would not trade. I would trade probably a little bit bigger than a 10 bracket. I'd probably use a 15 bracket if I were going to trade the euro. So there's so many instruments. So let me just think for a second. So if I were going to trade the ES on this report, I would probably use a bracket at least of 20 ticks. I'd use a pretty big bracket. But look, I'm being truthful. It's been so long on the ES. On the NQ, we had an 80 bracket. 80 bracket, and you can easily get 150 ticks of movement. It's very possible. Okay. So watching gold on the right, trading bonds, all right, trading actual bonds, bracket of 7, targets anywhere between 6 and 20. Target 1 stop move will automatically move our stop to safety. Break even minus 2340 if you want. Stop is 12. So we do have a bond trade ready to go and a possible reversal if it's appropriate on micro gold in our Top Step account. And we're going to check our time sync by going to the website. Time is. And that checks to make sure our computer is in sync. A year ago, this is what this report looked like a year ago. February 3rd, little more than a year ago. We almost always keep gold as a instrument that we're going to trade. At one time, we were trading CL for a while on this report. When this company first started, the amazing thing is that we traded oil. They traded oil on everything. I wasn't here. I was not here. Pretty big move a year ago, it looks like. Now, to check margins, you want to go to ninjatrader.com. And log into your account. Quite a bit of a little bit of slippage there. Look how far down the candle, but it looks like it's going to push. Trailed a little bit tight on the trail. Very strong moves. Very strong moves on this report. All right, let me see if we can find the exact margins. So this should be real-time margins at the moment. And right now ZF is 500 per contract. I don't know that they're raised yet. NQ is still at 1,000. Still at 1,000. You know, it makes it very tricky to have to wait till the last second to look at the margins. Right now, they don't appear to be up. Gold is 1,000. All right. I thought I shut the trade room by accident. Okay. So everybody's ready. This news usually comes out on time. And you could see the gold open is taking place right now. Micro gold, regular gold on the right over here. Sometimes the gold open can be muted at the time that there's a big news report before. In other words, right near the open, a big news report like jobs, sometimes it'll mute the gold open and the gold open will not be all that much of a move. Let's look at one more. Look for one more video. Let's go back to November. What happened in November? And we've been trading bonds for a while on this report. You could see we have our setup. October had a big move. Looks like a loser in September with a whipsaw. Okay. August looks like it had a whippy whip in August 23, possibly. And looking at November, gold, you can get early volatility from the report. Looked like there was an early move in November. And a little bit smaller move on bonds in November. Able to get a profit there. Target one. It's always a tough decision on this report. Are you going to trail, or are you going to let bonds be patient and let them? In this particular month, I was trying to expand the target. I was trailing, but trying, and then I got close right there. I probably got a little bit too close. And then you could see it changes direction. And then sometimes it will do a little baby pullback and then it'll continue on in the direction that you were going. See, like it did. So that's the hard decision. Smaller profit, giving it a chance to breathe. Okay, margins are up. NQ is 4,000. ZF is 2,000. 2,000 per contract. 2,000. So margins are up. Ah, Brian, I see that you changed. At first, what you wrote didn't make sense. So I want to thank everybody on YouTube for watching. Hit that like button. Hit that like button for us. All right. So January, there was a surprise in the jobs. There were more jobs created. So we'll see what happens today. January, the labor report was pretty hot. And you know that there's always arguments over what's going on with inflation. One of the problems with inflation is everyone in positions of authority claims that inflation is down. But the one thing that no one repeats is that when the prices went up, for instance, on housing, on food, on automobiles, most of the important things that we buy and consume, inflation is down, but the prices never retreated. The corporations, they're not shrinking their pricing. They take advantage of the inflation to raise their prices. And then as inflation drops, the price of Rice Krispies doesn't go down. The price of eating in a restaurant doesn't go down. One of the problems also too is wages are up. Wages causes inflation. So it's not so much that they're full of it, David. It's more they don't address the whole issue transparently. And the issue is once prices go up, even though inflation is lower, which I do believe is true, but the prices never came back down. So food is still as expensive as it was when inflation was up. And that's why people are struggling. That's part of the problem, in my humble opinion. So, a possible after the news trade on the middle chart, watching just gold on the right chart just to see its behavior. Okay. Um, bonds on the left and almost on the bonds, not a lot to do in terms of interfering with the trade if you don't want to. If you use, especially if you use the target one stop move, because that moves the stop on its own if you hit your first target. All right, so we're getting ready. Don't forget, if for any reason you had to cancel a trade, you just uncheck the checkbox. Okay. For any reason you want to uncancel, you want to cancel your trade, just uncheck your checkbox. Okay. Hit all the targets. Wow. Now, I'm not doing anything yet. This is too fast. Too fast. Bonds, turning off the trade. Fantastic winner. Beautiful winner. No one should have lost money on bonds unless, no, no matter what. Even if you got filled early on that move down was in the right direction for bonds. The news, way bullish. The job market is hot. 275 versus 198. I feel like I missed the reversal on gold when it hit the PP. Now, there could be a reversal off the high. It's possible, but you got a lot of pressure right now on the upside. A lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. The squeeze is exploding to the upside. I'm going to keep my profits, probably not taking a trade at the moment. Not at the moment. If I was going to do anything, I might consider look at the pressure to the upside. Not doing anything at the moment. Not doing anything. Gold looked like it should have been an easy winner. Gold looked like it should have been an easy winner. Okay. Just going to watch price action for a minute or two. Folks on YouTube, I posted the link if you want to join us, learn how to do this. I would say everybody in the trade room should have made money. David made money. John made money. 769. Brian 390. David made 28 ticks on bonds. That's $15 a tick. Okay. David 600. Everybody made money. The link is there to join us. It's ridiculous not to join us. $24 for the first month. www.gotrade2024.com. At least hit the like button if you're watching us on YouTube. At least give us a like for having the guts to trade live. Real money. Live real money. Okay? I think at some point here you're going to get that change in direction, right? The news, let me bring the news out. Take a second here. Initial reaction was a hot jobs market. Then you get that second reaction, and we'll go look at some other instruments also. And anyone who traded something else, you can tell us what was your experience. Frank, what did you want? Did you wind up trading the ES? So the news was a lot of jobs created, and that probably caused the initial push down, and that's where we made our money. Unemployment rate went up, though. So usually when there's more jobs, the unemployment rate goes down. That's a little bit of mixed news, okay? Uh, hourly earnings down a tiny bit, okay, compared to what they were expecting. But ultimately, the big number, hotter than expected, that gave us our initial burst, I believe, down, giving us the profit. Nice trade. Nice trade there, John. Mustafa, don't get cocky. You'll have losing trades. Just be careful, be smart, trade wisely. Things go wrong. But it's been gold. All of a sudden, gold started trading very well about 2 weeks ago. Gold's definitely trading better. We'll see it in the video. Let's look, make sure that none of your checks are checked. If you're going to change charts, uncheck your enabled box. Uncheck your enabled box. Just curious, the yen. How did the yen trade? I think we're going to find that most instruments probably went down first and then up. That's my guess, that most instruments went down first and then went up. Frank, what did you use as your setup on the ES? What did you use as your setup on the ES? Now, the ES looks to me like it went down first and then maybe up. The only way to tell is really by looking at very small, a very small chart time frame. Let me see. If we look at a 10-second time frame, the first candle after the news looks like it went down, made a new low, and then price went up. Right? That's what it looks like. Five-second chart. Yep. So you could see it went down first and then went up. Just like we did. Just like we did on bonds. Very often on this report, you see the same behavior on many, many, many instruments. It's such a strange reaction to the report in that it's often so similar with many different instruments. I'm sure the euro had a big move. Okay. Also looks like down then up. Some folks like to play the NQ, trade the NQ. All right. And then when we go back, and I'm sorry I didn't trade ZB. ZB can be a lot of risk because now it's interesting. ZB did not have, it looked like liquidity could have been difficult. It had a down move, rather large, but it's all wick. It's all wick. That can concern you a little bit about liquidity. Now, just let's compare that to the ZN because we made money on the ZN. And it looks very similar. Looks very similar. We didn't really have liquidity issues on the ZN. And let's take a look. All right, Frank, you used a bracket of 8. It's gutsy. That's only 2 points. Definitely, David, ZB is not nearly as liquid as ZN. Absolutely true. Absolutely, absolutely true. No question about it. Chantal, you traded the MMQ reversal. Very nice. MMQ reversal. All right. And it was a big one. If you're watching, see, some people, some traders trade after the news, after. So you're not concentrating on that breakout. You're not concentrating on what do you have to do at your stop? Do I have to move to safety? You're not missing the reversals. When you do the breakout, a lot of times we miss the reversal. And that doesn't mean you're a bad trader. It means you're concentrating on a different setup. Sometimes in a fast moving event, it's very difficult. It's impossible to trade multiple setups. Sometimes you can't do it. Sometimes you can. Everyone's different. Everyone's different. All right. I'm just going through what everybody's saying in the trade room. Keith made 82 bucks on micros. $82 on micros is actually a very nice trade. You know, that's a very nice trade. $82 on micros. That's a good profit. You know, sometimes a micro trade, you make $7, right? I'm just going through. I don't see anybody having a problem trade, so that's awesome. That's great news. All right. That's great news. Let's look at the video. And I want to thank everybody on YouTube. A lot of folks watching. Not a single person hit the like button. I don't know what we have to do to get you to hit the like button. Hit the darn like button. Say thanks for watching us trade live. We do it once a week. If you hit the notification bell, you'll know when we're streaming, and you can also join us and come into the trade room so it's not delayed. www.gotrade2024.com. That's all you got to do. Come on in and join us. All right. Thanks on YouTube for watching. We're going to shut down our stream. We'll see you next week. Thanks.